You're about to go live. Here we go. Go ahead, Nikki. You can start.
You're muted, Nikki.
Makes a huge difference, right? Year into the pandemic, still muting myself. So that's what you need to know about me. But more so, I am Nikki Sundstrom. I am the Director of Social Media and Public Engagement for the University of Michigan. I'm delighted to be here today, surrounded by a strong panel of females, and I'm going to head and allow them to introduce themselves one by one. So if we can kick it off, Lizelle, would you like to get us started? And then in my experience, it works best if you just pass it on to someone else on the panel.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lizelle Laron. I am the social media manager for the Dallas Mavericks here in Dallas, Texas, an NBA franchise championship in 2011, and I'm excited to be talking about social commerce with you guys today. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Lynn.
All right. Well, hi there. My name is Lynn Halliburton. I am social media manager at 5 Hour Energy. It is one of the first energy shots out of the energy drink market, and it's been around since 2004. Pretty much everyone knows it. It's been a pretty popular product, and it's on pretty much every customer's shelf, and we're starting to get into the e-commerce space. So we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to pass it on to Jamie.
Hello, I'm Jamie Selwa, and I'm with Nationwide Insurance here in Columbus, Ohio, snowy April, Columbus, Ohio. I'm social media strategy, and fun fact, Nationwide Insurance also has pet insurance. I'm going to pass it off to Emily.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Loss. I manage the social media strategy and influencer relation program for Balanced Health Botanicals. Our flagship company is CB Distillery. CB Distillery was one of the first and is currently the largest and fastest growing CBD company in the industry. And then I also work with our CBD skincare brand, Boda.
All right. And do we have one more? Is there Leah? Perhaps she wasn't able to join us today. Okay, fantastic. Well, then we'll go ahead and we will kick off our conversation. For anybody that is interested in submitting a question, please go ahead and do so through the chat functionality. And we might even have a poll throughout, so please keep an eye on that dialog box at the side. We'll start today by exploring the use of affiliates for e-commerce and selling online. Ladies, how do you recommend building a community that can help serve as advocates for your business?
Well, not sure who wants to start the question, but from 5 Hours perspective, we really enjoy using real people that actually use the product. People can kind of tell even through your affiliate and marketing use when some of your influencers aren't true fans of the brand, and it comes off a lot more commercial. So when you really start to build your affiliate and influencer programs through people that actually enjoy your product, you will find much better content as well as engagement through that type of those type of posts.
Yeah, and I think kind of piggybacking off of that, it's just what you said, building a community. I think that peer-to-peer trust is really, really important when starting to think about utilizing influencers and affiliates to start to share your message. And, people are so much more apt to trust somebody who is a peer and somebody who looks like a normal human being, a regular person that you might speak to on the street, or a sister who would recommend a product, a brother, someone in your family. I think that it's really, really important to be cognizant of using people who genuinely use, believe, and love your product, because people can definitely see through that.
Yeah, I would say for us here at the Mavs, it's actually been really interesting seeing all the different types of influencers in Dallas relating to our brand. A lot of lifestyle and travel bloggers that come to our games and wear our merch, like dives us into a whole different market that maybe people think, oh, what, the Mavericks are just a basketball team. They're only here to try and, promote the players and how we're doing on the court. But it's been awesome to see how we've been able to use influencers to not only sell our merch and come to our games, post COVID, and see how safe it is. So it's been awesome to actually meet the people behind the accounts and see them enjoy the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and within the CBD industry too, it's so important for us to share those emotional connections and those real stories. It's actually just paramount to our entire strategy. And, as a CBD company, we have to be so careful of what we share. We're not allowed to share medical claims or anything like that. So we really rely on influencers and affiliates, but even just our customers, our loyal customers, to speak about their experience, because we can't always say everything that they can on their channels.
Yes, and I would agree with Emily on that as well, especially in the insurance space. It can be such a complex product, and you really have to build up that trust for your company. And especially when we talk about in the pet insurance space, pets are members of your family. I can attest to that myself with 2 dogs, and people really see and value what they're going to be offering for their pet. So as Emily hit on, it's really important for us to make sure that we're not only working with people who have our product and believe in our product, but that they're authentic about it, because they're an extension of our brand, and they are the ones who are really truly going to be able to live our brand on the ground with people who are going to be potential customers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So the next question shifts us slightly away from affiliates to influencers. And Emily, I'm thinking perhaps you could kick us off here. How do these differ, or how are they similar in your mind? And is there added value or hurdles to relying on an influencer strategy?
Sure. So, the influencer marketing space is just so ever changing and ever evolving. And, for CB Distillery, we have shifted our strategy so much, even just in the last year. Influencer, to me, and this is just my opinion, almost now is it's almost a dirty word. Everybody's an influencer. Everyone can be an influencer. But, you can tell when there's just paid dollars behind that post. And again, like we keep saying, but I just think it's so important, they don't actually genuinely use your product. So, when we kind of first started building our influencer strategy, we worked with a lot of paid athletes, really big name athletes, and we paid them monthly, and they did use our products. But, there was always just that added layer of this big name that they're maybe not as relatable, because not everybody competes on a professional level. So over the last year, we've really shifted it to working with a lot more micro and nano influencers who may not have those huge followings but they have these huge engagement rates. So that's another thing. Like, my favorite metric to pay attention to is the engagement rate. I don't even really care about follower count when I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to work with. But yeah, so we've shifted it to these smaller influencers who just garner so much trust with their audience, because they're these real humans, and their audience has come to know their voice and know what they use and genuinely like. And so I think that that's kind of the biggest difference. There's these influencers who have huge, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, and they have these giant price tags attached to them. And you may not really see, and again, this is just what I've seen, but I don't see as much ROI with them as I do with one of our best influencers that we're working with right now is on a weight loss journey. And she works with, or doesn't work with, she uses Weight Watchers, and she just crushes it for us because she has this little band of loyal followers who hang on every word that she says, and her words are genuine, and it's a real relatable story. So I think that's the biggest difference, at least from how we've shifted our strategy over the past year.
I think that's phenomenal. It really spoke, despite the small differences, to exactly what everyone said in the beginning, right? It's all about authenticity and relatability, regardless of whether or not you're partnering through paid with someone or just really activating your fan base. Would any of you want to add anything additional to that?
I've found like using the larger influencers are great for, just building brand awareness, getting information out about maybe a new product line or launch or something like that. But, as Emily said, if you really are trying to, get people to move the needle on the sales side or something, like actually feel more heartfelt for your product, it is the micro affiliates and influencers that really tend to move the needle, at least in the 5-hour space.
Fantastic. And while we're on the topic of influencers, we just had our first question come in through the chat. So I'll go ahead and read that off. And then any of you that would like to respond, feel free to jump in. Can you speak to your thoughts on repurposing influencer content on your own brand pages? Is anyone in favor of the content only living on influencers' channels, or do you like to build their video and photos into your own content strategy?
I can quickly speak on that. We, in the pet insurance space, we like to do both. We like to use the influencer to reach a new audience for us that we wouldn't be able to tap into normally. And then we also like to use their content on our channels because, we do have a leg up in the pet space because who doesn't love photos and videos of cute pets? But we like to also use that content and tag the influencer because sometimes it's fun to see our audience react to that type of content as well. And, oh, hey, I know so-and-so, and it kind of builds up that brand for them as well. But we do like to use it on both sides to, continue to build up our engagement for our audience and then reach new audiences.
Mm-hmm. And I think just, it furthers the reach so much more. We love seeing it on the influencers page first, but then by resharing it, and again, in CBD, we have to be careful, but by resharing it, we just continue to build that brand personality and, humanizing the brand by showing that we have these partnerships and we work with these real people and we're listening. We're not just a brand who sits there with a microphone and talks about ourselves. We're listening, we're watching, we're seeing what other people are sharing, and it's valuable to us. So I think that it's always important to share back if it's in alignment with your brand message and give yourself a pat on the back.
Excellent, thank you. And the questions are just rolling in now. So you're clearly doing a phenomenal job addressing the concerns of the community and giving them a leg up. So we'll ask one more influencer question and then we'll get back to perhaps some of the prepared ones that we have. How do you find, and Leah, I had this question too, or Emily, sorry. How do you find the influencers with smaller audiences but larger engagement rates?
So I am fortunate enough to be able to use a tool. I use an influencer scouting tool called Grin, and I know that some other ladies on the panel use other amazing tools as well. But Grin allows me to go in and actually look at engagement rates for certain influencers and then actually find lookalike influencers as well. But honestly, once you start doing this on a day-to-day basis, you kind of just have an eye for it. And you can go in and just kind of compare a number of followers and then go down and see what kinds of threaded dialogues are happening on their posts. Is it real meaningful conversations? Is it real people, or is it robots? A lot of it isn't just looking at a number, but actually going in and qualifying the type of engagements that are happening on the posts. So that's really, really important. But I think that the more that you do it, you will just have an eye for it. I'm sure that there's a mathematical equation for it as well, but I really like my tool, so I would highly recommend it.
Excellent. We have a question at the end about all of your favorite tools, so it's good that we got that one. And if you have a moment and you want to put the exact spelling in the chat and let people know perhaps where they can find that tool as well, I'm sure they would be greatly appreciative. So Jamie, let's go to you with the next question, if that's all right. In your experience, what are some of the most complicated elements of establishing a successful e-commerce strategy within social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when I heard this roundtable was going to be primarily about this topic, I thought, what do I have to contribute with insurance? It can be a very complicated product, and there's a lot of pieces to it. And sometimes people don't know exactly what they need. And it's not as easy as just building a shop on Instagram and directing people there and having them go and pick and choose what they want. I wish it could be that easy. But there's a lot of feelings and emotions that also go into insurance when you're protecting your things, you're protecting people, you're protecting yourself. So really what we have to do is build relationships and build that trust through social media with education, awareness, content that's going to make them remember us, so that if they're not in a space right now to switch insurance companies, or they don't necessarily need a certain product right now, that they do think of us and want to work with us when they do need that product. So we use social media a lot to, again, build that trust and awareness. We use partners and influencers to also continue on that trust and awareness for us. And then that trickles into our paid strategy as well, knowing that sometimes people are not just going to come to our website or call us off of one ad or one post that they see. How do we keep that continual relationship going?
Absolutely. Is there anything anyone else would add? What's the most complicated part of your jobs?
I would just like to add, I think that having a cross-channel strategy is really, really important, and just making sure that you're utilizing every single channel that you can and driving back to that site. Even if you can't imagine your brand being on TikTok, for example, you should still own the space. Go create an account and just make sure that you grab it so that somebody else can't use your company's name. But and you don't have to be insanely active on every single channel, but you may miss somebody on Facebook because they use Twitter, or vice versa. Just making sure to utilize all channels and just always having a really clear call to action, driving people back to your website every single time.
Lynn or Lizelle, anything additional? All right. Well,
Nope.
we'll move. Okay. Still navigating that delay / Zoom world. What best practices or tips do you find most valuable to share with others as it relates to navigating paid advertising in this ever-evolving social space? And personally, and I'm sure everyone else here too, would love to hear some of your most memorable or impactful collaborations.
I can start this one. For us, our paid avenue and our paid realm of social is kind of really taking off for us. It's something that I've been on the more organic side, just making sure following team behind the scenes, all the game and basketball related updates. But now we've really tried to partner with sponsorship and let them know, hey, not everything needs to go out on all of our feeds. There is a specific audience, especially when we do a lot of giveaways or sweepstakes. I think it's just been something that they've been trained, and honestly we've been trained too, hey, let's just post this on social and cast a wide net, and hopefully everyone will participate, everyone will do the game, everyone will try and enter to win, but we have so many different rules and regulations when we give away prizes or signed jerseys or just signed memorabilia that it doesn't really apply to everybody. So we're really trying to strategize on our paid social realm, like, hey, like this only makes sense to the DFW Metroplex. Like, let's put some money behind it, even if it's not a lot, set the date range and like make sure we target a certain audience. We're even taking that a step further and hopefully like really utilizing different audiences and lists. So, hey, if we have an audience from people that participated the last time and we're running this campaign again, let's make sure we target them and a lookalike audience. So this is something that we're kind of really just diving into more now and trying to take more off of our organic social so that everything that you see on there that does go out to all of our fans. A lot of our fans are international, so it doesn't make sense for them to see a campaign or a post for them to try and enter or participate if they can't like win the prize. So that's kind of how we're taking our paid strategy in the direction we're going.
Excellent. Who else is implementing a robust paid strategy?
Well, 5 Hour has a decent budget, so I mean, I know we spend a lot of money on ads, but we're being a lot more we're being a lot more concentrated this year on doing things like partnering with certain influencers or affiliates and trying to figure out whose account to boost from. Is it better to put the paid dollars behind, with 5 Hour putting the post behind it, or is it better to have a promoted post coming from the affiliates page? And sometimes it just depends upon the follower count and the audience that we're attracting. So if the person has a huge follower and a audience that connects with our audience, we might actually promote it from their account just because it feels a little more authentic and it, gets a little bit more eyeballs than them constantly seeing the 5 Hour Energy ads. Because if you go to our website or any of our contest site, then you are going to get hit a lot with retargeting ads. But retargeting ads are great if you're into e-commerce because Facebook does great retargeting. A lot of the times you're not charged for impressions until someone goes back to buy. So, Facebook retargeting is great in the commerce space as well.
Perfect. And because you said the magic word, Lynn, you said budget, I want to circle back to a question that we had here in the chat, which is, what if you are a small or local business owner and you don't have that budget for influencers or, a huge one for retargeting? If you were operating on a dime, what would you tell someone to place their funds behind?
You pay in product. In fact, that's what 5 Hour Energy does for our smaller, like if your audience is less than 50,000, you're probably in our like affiliate ambassador program because you are a genuine fan of the brand and you purchase it a lot. So this way people are getting cases of 5 Hour Energy sent to them each month to just take pictures. Their requirement is just to send us 3 photos. They can post however much they want, but then they get all of this free product. They get free swag. They're in the first to know about different things. And the product is just at cost for us in shipping. So the cost on our end is pretty minimum. They feel like they're getting this great exposure by being on the 5 Hour Energy, affiliate team, and we get to share their posts. So they feel that kind of way. I also spent tons of time in agency where I worked with a lot of nonprofits, small restaurants. So believe me, I'm used to working with very small budgets if, these local restaurants had budgets. But there are a lot of local influencers around you, whether they are foodies or travelers or just lifestyle influencers in the micro space that are willing to do some stuff for free for the exposure. Sometimes don't say it like that. But, just reach out to them and say like, hey, I would like for you to come in and offer them a free meal. And then usually if everything is great, then they will post. Don't always position it as a post, you get this, but if everything's great, then they will typically post for you.
I agree with you, Lynn. And I was going to say, you probably have brand advocates out there, whether you know it or not, and just tapping into the people who are already talking about you, maybe using some type of social listening, see what people are tagging you in, start to work with those people who are already talking about you for free. If they have a good experience and they like your product or service, they probably are out there talking about it. So if you can find them and, like Lynn said, work with them maybe in just products, that'd be a good option. Another thing that we've been testing with Pet is we do get a lot of customers who just talk about us. And so we built a landing page that is really just a tool for us to capture their information if they want to work with us. It has some information, what social channels are you on? Where do you live? Just some basic information. Why do you want to work with Nationwide? And we have that landing page we can send people to sign up, and then we can tap into them for user-generated content, for potential influencer campaigns if they have larger accounts, or if they have smaller accounts but engaged audiences. They are just resources for us to potentially use. So that could be another option. Can you build something through a website or just through a basic template form for them to fill out and collect some of that information and use that as a potential affiliate or influencers in the future?
What a great idea, Jamie, because then you'll have that lovely distribution list that Lizelle was talking about earlier to target back in your other items. Welcome back, Emily. I think you had a little bit of tech issues there for a second. We're glad you're here. All right, fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And it is a pretty big, heavy-hitting question, so feel free to answer it to the best of your ability. How have local, national, and global societal issues or conversations factored into the strategies that you are implementing or impacted the performance of your online communities?
I can quickly touch on something first. I think one big thing that goes back to what we've talked about on all of these topics is being authentic. And sometimes if you don't have anything to say, then don't. I think your audience is going to read into that if you're not being authentic and you're not being true to your brand and you're just trying to come off fake or make a statement just for the sake of making a statement. So a lot of times we have found to work with all of our partners within the company to understand the best approach, make sure everybody is aligned. And if that means, doing things that are internal or maybe not on social media or changing up your strategy last minute, just know that that is okay.
Is there anything anyone else would add?
I agree with Jamie, but I also say, there's no fear with going dark when times are tough, just sometimes you can just shut up.
Yeah, and I would also maybe just say on the other side of that, also just paying attention to trending hashtags and trending topics and joining those conversations when relevant. I mean, like the ladies said, you don't need to join every single conversation, but when it does relate to your brand, it can be a really great launching point to get a ton of reach.
I always like to say, stay in your swim lane, right? That's right. All right. Well, Emily, why don't we stick with you for a second? Within your time in the industry, what do you think has been one of the biggest value add functionalities that platforms have implemented? And, much like an edit button on Twitter, what do you wish that they would provide us? What do you think would really take it to the next level?
I think that Instagram Live has been such a huge value add to the platform. And again, with our recurring theme, it just gives you that real raw look into somebody's life, or perhaps a behind the scenes at a brand's headquarters, or you get to see an influencer's home, or their local gym or wherever. I think that Instagram Live, and it also just creates that kind of quick timely, you have to watch this right now or it's going to disappear. Same thing with stories, they're going to disappear in 24 hours. So, a lot of times influencers see a lot better engagement on their stories even than their feed posts. I mean, we have certain deals with some of our investors where they strictly post to their stories because they've shared with us that they just get much better engagement there and we trust them. So I think that those two things are really, really great additions to Instagram and just keep it much more real and in the moment and timely, and things, don't get as stagnant. I'm going to let somebody else answer the second half of that question because I have to think about it for a second.
Sure. Any takers? Perfect as is, right? It'll change tomorrow anyway, so that's fine.
I would say maybe we always want better analytics. I would say just, for Instagram, I would say give us better analytics. I mean, I also use a third-party tool for analytics, but sometimes I do, when creating a report, I do a mix and match of getting the analytics on the back end from the native platform and then also from the tool that I use, which is Curelate. I can again talk about that at the end as well, but I think everyone's always just dying for more analytics to just be able to show what they're doing is working.
Absolutely. I'll add my personal opinion on this one, and it has a lot to do with algorithms. I'd love to know a little bit more about how the inside is actually manipulating what we're putting in, right? So that's my 2 cents on that one. I doubt I'll ever get it. Lizelle, let's move to you next. Can you talk to us about shopping on Instagram? The NBA has noted that it has become an Instagram best practice to fully integrate merchandise experience towards the platform. How are you approaching this at the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, absolutely. So here at the Dallas Mavericks, we actually have our main account, the main Dallas Mavs account, and we have a shop account that reflects all the merchandise, all the different shoots they go on, all the different sales. So it's something that doesn't have to live on the main account. It doesn't get flooded up. People don't unfollow if they're not interested in different merch accounts. So that account, we've definitely tried to grow over the past few years. And that's something that we're able to link our main Dallas Mavs account to our Shopify account that also runs on the shop's Instagram. So it's been awesome to see how the shopping experience on Instagram has changed and evolved, and now the NBA has really kind of made it apparent that, hey, you can sell your merch, you can drop different jerseys, you can do different product drops, you can use influencers and they can tag your merch and it attributes back to your Shopify. So this is all kind of new stuff that we're really trying to understand and really get a hold of and try and make sure that, hey, if there's a jersey dropping, and this was another thing too that we actually just brought up a few days ago, if we don't want to release what the jersey looks like, there's still a way to add a vanity. I don't think that's current right now, but it's something that we're asking to also create, because for us in the NBA, we'll release a jersey, but it won't be shown until the day of, but we want to create pre-orders. So it's just a lot of really awesome ways to also use influencers, and if we use their content and repurpose it on our feeds, we can still tag the jersey they're wearing. Every year, our merch department does a huge shoot with local influencers and people that just look like normal people, and have them wear our merch in more everyday, regular situations. I think sometimes the comments make it sound like this isn't how I'd wear a jersey, but it's just awesome to see how our merchandise department can utilize a jersey with a blazer, or utilize a jersey in different ways to make it more come from work, come to a game. So we're just trying different ways and different strategies, and just seeing an in-studio shot with somebody wearing the shirt in different and we've been awesome about doing that all around different places in Dallas, all different age groups, including children. And then we usually pre-COVID would have a shoot with the guys on a media day where we just have a rack of clothes and they just kind of quickly throw it on over their stuff and take a few shots with them. But since we didn't really get that opportunity, we've really leaned in on our influencers, and the shoot where we were able to have COVID friendly and safe here in Dallas. So it's just awesome to kind of see how that's developed over the last few years with Instagram.
I think that's amazing. Most of us, I think, have learned either how to cook something different or wear something different or try something different through TikTok or Instagram or whatever else over the course of the last year. So kudos to you on that exploration as well. Lynn, I'm going to move to you next. How have you utilized affiliate hashtags and ambassador hashtags to generate, more genuine posts from people with less followers?
Well, we've kind of separated out. So we use one hashtag for the people that kind of have the smaller followers and are kind of paid in product. The people that are probably 100,000 plus followers, because they have more impressions, they actually do get paid differently. So they typically use like an ambassador or an affiliate hashtag. The smaller influencers, not only are they paid in product, I forgot to mention, they're also paid a commission for anyone that uses their link for if they make a sale on our page. So luckily our softwares, I'm using the Grin software that Emily's using, looking at other softwares, but a great thing about a lot of these affiliate softwares is that they will keep track of all of the sales that your affiliates are making, so that it will pay out monthly, keep track of all of the campaigns in one place, and just make sure it's all together. I've found that once the affiliates started sharing their hashtags, that we started seeing more other people that weren't in our affiliate program also jumping onto these hashtags and sharing content using these hashtags as well, because I'm sure, hashtag 5 Hour Energy is just bombarded with all types of stuff. So once we started to see other genuine content coming from like people that weren't in our affiliate program, we were able to actually send an invite to them and invite them into the Grin and program to be like, hey, you can become one of our affiliates as well. So, and work that way for us.
Excellent. And that sparked a question within our chat. So what is your best creative recommendation to build an email base through social platforms for email marketing strategy? Anyone want to field that one?
So something that we do, and I just mentioned this is another software that we use. It's called Curelate. And so it makes our Instagram shoppable, which I think is really, really important for any e-commerce brand. To keep driving people to that LinkedIn profile, which will then they can go through your posts and shop based on what products are featured on which different post. And so we also have a little email capture in that link in our bio as well. We get lots and lots and lots of email signups through that. So that would be a tip that I would say.
For 5 Hour, we run a lot of contests. Contest where email sign up is required. And then of course, one of those questions is, can we, you have the checkbox, can we use your email for remarketing and things like that? But then once you get that email address, then you've gained a pretty good, email listing of people that somewhat fit your follower base. Some are just prize pigs too. There's that.
Right. Jamie, I'm going to go to you. Let's talk about, or hopefully you will talk to us about, some specific tactics and expectations that you establish when working with an influencer, or even maybe best practice advice for being one or becoming one.
Yeah. So one thing, and I know we've said this so many times, but the biggest thing for us, and I know the other ladies have mentioned, is that authenticity. One thing for the pet space is that we want to make sure that they're already a member, that they know our experience, they know how to use our products and services, and that they really find value in it. Because I think it can, regardless of how it's done, people can really weed out when something doesn't seem authentic and real. And if these influencers are being asked specific questions on, why did you feel you needed pet insurance? Or why do you think it's important to have this? How does the claims experience work? If they're not a member and they've already been a part of that experience, I think it can show through. And then if we jump in and try to answer those questions, it's not going to seem as authentic. So one big thing for us is understanding that these are people who have used our products and services and truly believe in it. And another piece, when we talk really at the tactical level, it's important for us to look at what platforms we are focusing on and prioritizing on. Like Emily noted, really being in all spaces, but where is our target audience? What are we looking to grow? Where do we want to increase our brand awareness because we think that's where our target audience is? Making sure that you understand that connection and then finding who you want to work with from there. Because it's not really going to do you any good if you want to focus on one channel, but who you want to work with has a large audience and an engaged audience on another channel. So you can do that cross-channel promotion, but making sure that you're really focusing on where you want to grow and where your target audience is, and looking at the different demographics on where your target audience is. There's a lot of online resources that just break down, who is on Instagram, who's on TikTok, who's on LinkedIn, making sure that that connects with your audience. That would be my biggest advice.
Extremely important. Thank you. Let's stay on that tactics thing for just a second here. Emily, can you share how you've used codes and special gifts to incentivize influencers or thank loyal customers for a successful campaign implementation?
Yeah, so using discount codes is pretty much the backbone of our strategy. We use it for all of our affiliates, all of our influencers, ambassadors. We kind of have a lot of different tiers, so that's why I use all of those different words. But to us, a discount code just, and we usually stay around 20%, a 20% off discount code. That just works for our brand. But I mean, figure out what works for you. You can have them at all different values depending on the ambassador or what the price point of your product is. But we just find that an audience just obviously loves a discount on products, but the influencer and ambassador loves to be able to share that with their audience, especially when they love a product. And so to be able to give them access to a discount like that continues to foster that trust between us and the ambassador and then the customer. But we also pay certain ambassadors a commission on the code. And so it's a really great incentive for them to share that code as much as possible because they're going to earn cash back on every sale that happens using that code. And so that's, that's another kind of thought for people when considering an influencer budget. Maybe that's more of a strategy that you want to lean towards. It's not some huge monthly chunk of money that you're just paying and then hoping that sales come in. You're paying them based off of sales. So that model really works for us. And we use that. A lot of our ambassadors get commission on their code. There are also some that just like to share a discount code and we just pay them monthly product. So it really just depends. You kind of have to tailor it, but would always suggest giving those. And then as far as special incentives, we have this whole new little program that we kind of started late last year, and we have kind of rounded up our loyal customers into this ambassador group where we give them a discount code, and then for every 25 times that their discount code is used, we send them a $100 gift card to our store. So it's kind of a different little sector than using a micro or nano influencer, but kind of really honing in on those people who already are loyal and love talking about your products.
Excellent. Well, we've got time for one more question, and then perhaps I'll just do a quick roundabout on our favorite tools at the end. But Lizelle, if you could talk to us specifically about how you've leveraged influencers despite the pandemic and what COVID protocols you've had to take into consideration, I think that would be a really timely question for us to end on.
Yeah, for sure. So before we opened up our games to allow fans at small capacity and things like that, we just kind of got in touch with our influencers and would send them merch packages and ask them to do an unboxing. And that's something I think Tiffany kind of asked in the chat. Without an influencer budget, how does your brand show up on TikTok? Like, I know I just mentioned that we would send them merch or product and ask them to do an unboxing. There's so many different like outfit switch type of TikToks that really relate to the platform. but asking them to just kind of do content or voiceover pieces, you know, that's something that maybe they can be affiliated with the account. Maybe there's not a big budget to ask them to do it, but it's creating content and it's creating that different brand connections. Some influencers just like it to be associated with your brand, and just having that endorsement by the brand. And I've seen so many TikToks where people just do a screenshot of the email where people are like, hey, like this brand reached out to me and asked me to do this. And then it's a whole story from there in the form of a TikTok. So with the pandemic and things like that, that's kind of the approach we were doing. And then while we've had fans in the building, we've kind of just asked them to create a story, you know, piece of content they can share on their Instagram stories, their TikToks, Instagram, that just kind of shows the process of how safe it is to come to a game, the precautions that they have to take, the different check-ins that they have to do. And that's kind of how we've tackled COVID during this time, because our arena still has a mask policy and things like that during our game. So that's kind of how we've been tackling COVID content with our influencers.
Perfect. Well, thank you. All right. Well, ladies, we'll end off today's session first with my gratitude to all of you for these phenomenal responses. I certainly learned a lot, not working in e-commerce every day, but rather in higher education. But if you'd like to close out by just sharing with the group that we have here today with the tip, trick, or tool that you like best and you find most valuable in your daily lives, everybody can go to work tomorrow and know something new. Lynn, do you want to start?
Sure. If people are looking to get into affiliate programs, there are several different affiliate softwares or web-based programs out there. So I would definitely take a look at them. Currently, I'm in Grin. I have been in talks with Maverick to switch out to see what their offerings are, and it's just because their product is a little bit more cost-effective for us at the moment for the number of users that we have in it. So different programs will offer you different things based upon the number of influencers that you have, as well as the number of people that you have trying to assign influencers to different campaigns that you will have, as well as based upon the number of campaigns that you're trying to run. So there's tons of softwares out there. Most of them will let you do a trial, so be sure to do some trials and then make sure to get what works best for you.
Thanks so much, guys. Great job. Just wanted to quickly close and say on behalf of ICSMAX, I sincerely hope that everyone enjoyed the social media marketing meeting. We'd like to thank Tint and Talkwalker for sponsoring today's events. Want to thank all of our speakers who did such a great job today. And we also want to remind you that our virtual exhibit is open for another hour. So if you want to click join and check out our sponsor expo, you can go ahead and do that. Here are upcoming virtual events from ICSMAX. On May 27th, you can join us for our Midwest marketing event where industry-leading national, regional, and local Midwest marketers come together to address issues of marketing and advertising in a unique format. On August 5th, we're hosting our New York City virtual event, bringing together the tri-state area's most active and brand marketers. We'll be targeting storytelling, branding, new technology, and so much more. And finally, ICSMAX returns to live events on September 4th in Minnesota. So everyone, let's cross our fingers and everyone get their vaccines. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, Tint and Talkwalker, and all of our speakers and moderators from today. We hope you enjoyed today's meeting. And thank you guys again so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.